Welcome to It's Time for Yarn. It's that time again. Time for another blanket tour. And in case you're wondering, what in the world is a blanket tour? That's where I take you through the crochet blankets that I have completed. Stay tuned. First up, I have this X's and O's blanket. Hugs and Kisses is what it's called. I got this from the Crochet Crowd. It's a free pattern that they have available. I'll link that down below. And I used Premier yarn that I got at Dollar Tree. I showed my yarns that I had for this in my recent video about works in progress or projects that I want to finish before I start new ones. And I love the way this turned out. I love how it transitions from these beautiful pinks and light grays, this beautiful green color called Meadow, into these darker pecan colors and all the way up to Granite. I got these yarns because one, I fell in love with the colors. I just thought they were so romantic and beautiful. And then two, I wanted to try the worsted yarn from Premier. And let me just say, it is dreamy to work with. Now, I did have one color, Parchment. It's one of these colors in here, that it is a little thinner than the other yarns. That one of them is like it's just yarn, and the other one is just yarn worsted. Like they were different weights, and I didn't realize that. So that one, as I was working with it, I was like, oh, it's kind of thin. But that was just me not paying attention to what I had picked up. So be on the lookout for that if you pick up these yarns from Dollar Tree, to check their weights. Make sure that they're the same weights if you're wanting to use them in the same project or in something like this. Look how pretty those colors are. Love it. Love that. This was my first time using the bobble stitch, and I liked it. It was okay. It didn't seem to like dredge on. Sometimes these bigger stitches can take a long time, but it seemed to go by pretty quickly. And I did mess up a little bit along the way as I was working. I would have, a row that was like too many bobbles or too many double crochets. I'm like, how did I get that many? I don't know. And I would just like do two together or something to kind of make it work. Because I was like, I'm not frogging this back and trying to figure out where I went wrong. No, thank you. Like it has enough going on that it'll just blend in, and the sides are still straight. Everything still looks good. We're just gonna fix it. We're not gonna frog. We're gonna fix. So look how beautiful. Love it. The next blanket I completed is this granny square to square that gets bigger and bigger until you run out of yarn, and it uses front post stitches to give it this beautiful ribbed effect. I got this from a pattern from Bag O' Day, Crystal, and I'll link that down below as well. And I really just liked the stitch and wanted to give it a try. And this is Karen Jumbo Ombre, and this, I think it's called Blue Jeans, is this colorway. But I really just wanted to try out the Karen Ombre and see how it looked in this square pattern, and I love how it turned out. Look how gorgeous that is. Now I will say that the edges, I stitched them a little too tightly, so they kind of curl under, and I could block it and and all that, but I'm lazy. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm lazy and I don't feel like it, and and I figured with use it will flatten out anyway and it'll be fine. I have a friend, her name's Charity. She saw this on my video where I'm talking about my works in progress and wanting to finish this. She immediately texted me and was like, girl, I love that. I want that one. Can I have it? I'm like, yeah, girl, you can have it. Because I really I make these blankets and then they just pile up at my house. So when someone requests one of them, I'm always happy to oblige. So I'm actually having to take notes on my works in my things that I make, because I have people asking me, hey, how much yarn did you use? What are the dimensions on that? And I'm like, I don't know. I was just making a blanket. I don't know. So I had to go and buy a project notebook to keep track of all of these, all this information, so that when I give these blanket tours and I show these blankets, that I can give you guys the information that you need if you would like to recreate this. This one used, I believe, 3 of the Callahan jumbo ombres. Might have been 4, but I'm pretty sure it was 3. And I did have to pull in a different yarn that I had to finish up the border, but I could have easily ended it a few rows less in order to make it where I just used the Callahan yarn and didn't have to pull in any yarn. Look at my little baby sleeping. Oh, so cute. This blanket is one that is a product of the studying that I had to do for making my argyle and color pooling videos that I've posted, the tutorials there. I spent a solid 3 days practicing the procedure, like how to do it, so that I could explain well how to make your yarn do this. And so I ended up with several just blocks of this argyle pattern. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with all these squares of argyle? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take this is Red Heart with Love. I can't remember the colorway. I want to say flamingo, something like that. I can't remember. I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I made these blocks, probably 8 or 9 months ago. But anyway, I got them and I connected them with this, I think it's called Passport. It's a gray color from Crafter's Secret, Hobby Lobby, the big ones, the big idea skeins. And then this is Coral in Big Twist Value. I just got it because it was on clearance one day, it was on sale, and I thought it would go well enough anyway with this flamingo color here in these argyle. So I just made 2 panels out of the moss stitch, using the moss stitch, and connected it with that gray and did a single crochet border around all of it to kind of pull it together. And it kind of buckles in places because I didn't do any math, didn't do any measuring. I wasn't precise. I was just putting them together to make a blanket so that I could have a product out of my hard work. So I did realize that the way that I was connecting them, it was like a slip stitch join or maybe a single crochet, but I didn't like how raised it was. I don't like how raised that is, but you know, for a couch blanket, it'll be fine. I love the colors. I love how they work together. I like that this gray pulls this in. I like that this coral goes with the flamingo there. I like that I was able to use the swatches that I made and make them into something useful. So this blanket is special to me. It actually reminds me of the hard work I did during that time a few months ago to make that tutorial that is doing pretty well on my channel. So thank you if you've watched that. Thank you for subscribing if that caused you to subscribe. This is a product of the hard work I put into that, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I started this blanket several months ago when I was working on this mosaic stitch. I was trying to learn how to do the mosaic stitch, and I made, this is called the Nya Mosaic. I made one in a rainbow pattern that you can see in my very first blanket tour that I've since given away. My son laid claim to it, he loved it. So he has it at his house and enjoys it. But I fell in love with doing mosaic, and I was like, I want to do that again. I found a pattern that had the mosaic piece, and then it had some stripes on either side, and it did have tassels on it, and I decided not to put tassels because my pets, they love tassels, and I didn't want them to be eating the strings off of those. But I left those off. Those would make a beautiful touch to the ends of this, but it doesn't work for our family. And last but not least is this beauty. I loved making this blanket. It worked up pretty quickly, and I just love how the colors turned out. I made this using Callahan cakes in the color Sweet and Sour. I got them on clearance at Michael's last year, and I've been kind of like searching for the right pattern for that particular cake. And I wanted one that would show off the colors, but it wouldn't look too muddy. And I found this pattern. It's a chunky V-stitch pattern. I'll leave that linked below as well. And I used the Callahan cakes, and then I used this white is the Serenity Chunky from Premier, and they just worked beautifully together. Now the Serenity Chunky is a 5 weight and the Callahan cakes were a 6, but they were close enough that they worked together well. It didn't really make that much of a difference. But I am giving this to a friend of mine whose daughter is turning 6 the first week of April, and I am so excited to give this to her and to see her reaction and see how I hope she loves it. Thanks for joining me on this blanket tour. I hope you found some inspiration. Let me know down below if any of these caught your eye and you want to give them a try. Remember, no matter what time it is, it's always time for yarn.